YouTube channel near you.
Hey everybody, how we doing tonight? Whoa, let's fix that. Oh, there we go. Hey everybody, how we doing out there? I saw Rebecca in the audience today. We got a few more people joining us, but they haven't made their presence known. So not sure who's in the audience. We'll give just a minute here to let some more people join in live with us. Thursday night, 10 p.m. Eastern. Latro, welcome Latro. Thanks for joining us from YouTube. Thanks for coming in and checking this out. Tonight we're talking about the big news that showed up a little while ago about the dire wolves coming back from extinction. So we'll take a look at that and see what's going on. As always, guys in the audience, let me know if you can hear me well. If I need to make any adjustments, please. Before we get too far into it and y'all go, can't hear you, something's going on. Just a friendly reminder for next week, our show is not going to be at 10 p.m. Eastern. It is going to be at 6 p.m. Eastern. We have a special guest joining us for that show, my fellow researcher, Pete Hasty. And we're going to be discussing where we are on the Corey Godsey case, what we've been finding out, what we haven't found out. Pete's been assisting me with that with his professional medical experience. That's going to be a great show. So looking forward to that one. Oh, hey, Latro. Anybody else tonight? I'll give it just another minute here. Rebecca said, hello, Mr. Decker. And I said, please just call me Justin. Mr. Decker is my father. I don't stand on ceremony at all. All right. So as always, guys, as I'm going through this, please feel free to just ask questions. I just ask that you do them in all caps so I can see them. That way I don't miss anything. Also, if you're watching this later on YouTube, on the Bigfoot Outlaw channel, if you have questions, go ahead and put it in there, and I try and go back and look. I'm not always able to, so you can always find me on Facebook. It's best if you email me, tnsasquatch21@gmail.com, because that'll come directly to my email, and then I can answer you on there. So, dire wolves, back from extinction, or are they? So this took a little digging. This is interesting. The internet is divided on what was really going on here. So we're going to take a look at how this kind of came out and what the thoughts are. And let's see what's going on. Rebecca, my grandson told me the dire wolves are back. Well, that's exactly what we're talking about, Rebecca. So you will be able to fill your grandson in on what's going on. All right. So everything kind of came out. First part of April, I found the first inklings on Facebook on April 7th. So that's kind of where we're going to start. So the first thing I want to do is find out what is a dire wolf, so we know exactly what we're talking about. I got my information from the Britannica, Encyclopedia Britannica. The dire wolf is an extinct mammal, also known by some fancy Latin word that I can't pronounce. We're also going to call it Canis dirus. Written and fact-checked by the editors of Encyclopedia Britannica, and they last updated April 14th, 25 in response to this information that came out. So the dire wolf is a canine that existed during the Pleistocene epoch, approximately 2.6 million to 11,700 years ago, as science and evolution measures time. It is probably the most common mammalian species to be found preserved in the La Brea tar pits in Southern California. The dire wolf differed from the modern gray wolf, the Canis lupus. Now, I want to point out that it's not even the same Latin names at all. The Anason dirus versus the Canis lupus, or some people call it the Canis dirus. The dire wolf differed in several ways. It was larger, had a more massive skull, a smaller brain, and larger teeth than modern wolves with relatively light limbs. They were standing at about 96.5 centimeters or 30 inches tall at the shoulder. Many dire wolves grew up to 178 centimeters or 70 inches in length and weighed roughly between 59 and 68 kilograms, about 130 to 150 pounds. These were good size canines. The species was considerably widespread throughout North America and parts of Western and South America. Skeletal remains have been found in Florida, the Mississippi River Valley, Valley of Mexico, Bolivia, Peru, and Venezuela. So they had a pretty good range for them. Pretty good range. The lineage that included dire wolves and their ancestors emerged some 5.7 million years ago during the late Miocene epoch, and it evolved independently from the lineage that produced modern wolves and their close relatives. So this here is kind of one of the major sticking points is how closely related they are to gray wolves, or how distant they are related to gray wolves. And we'll talk about that more later on. Latro says La Brea Tar Pit was a poor choice for a family reunion. Absolutely, it was. Genetic studies report that dire wolves, which first appeared in North America, are more closely related to jackals and African wild dogs and the dholes of Eastern and Southern Asia than they are to their modern counterparts from the Americas, as they're talking about gray wolves or other wolves, timber wolves, gray wolves, red wolves. So far, there is no evidence that they interbred with gray wolves, which originated several million years later in Eurasia before dispersing to North America. So if you're following the evolutionary lineage, basically they're saying that dire wolves evolved in North America and then migrated down towards parts of South America, whereas our gray wolves and timber wolves first came about in Eurasia and then migrated over here. Okay. Mr. Duffy81 joining us from the YouTube channel says the dire wolf information on the news is a cover-up for creatures that are already out there. Now, that's an interesting take. All right, so that was what the Britannica said, the encyclopedia giving us a rundown. So on April 7th, this here was the first one that I could backtrack and find on Facebook, released at 12:23 p.m., so just afternoon, on the Facebook page of Annika Svenska and Animal Watch. And this little article states that the dire wolf returns. Colossal Biosciences sound on. Oh, sorry. I've been working on this. I didn't get to edit everything. So they had a video of the dire wolves howling. So that's what a lot of people were hearing for the first time, was the howls of the dire wolves. That's where Sound On came on. So meet Romulus and Remus, the world's first de-extincted animals, born on October 1st, 2024. The dire wolf has been extinct for over 10,000 years. The two wolves were brought back from the extinction using genetic edits derived from a complete dire wolf genome, meticulously reconstructed by Colossal from the ancient DNA found in fossils dating back 11,500 to 72,000 years ago. So what they're claiming here is that they were brought back from extinction using genetic edits derived from a complete direwolf genome. Okay, so they're talking about using direwolf DNA to bring back direwolves found from DNA fossils. This sounds quite like some movies that have been popular for the past few decades. So here we go. There is the puppies, Romulus and Remus. Absolutely adorable little fuzzballs. You cannot deny that at all. Mr. Duffy, I saw a 9-foot-long wolf run across the road in front of me in 2 leaps. It had a mane of hair coming off the back of its head. That was probably about 3 years ago. Wow, what a sighting. Can you give us a general location of where that was, Mr. Duffy? He said they've already cloned the mammoth. It's not science fiction. They maybe have, but that hasn't been announced officially yet. This is the first one being announced. But we'll talk about that a little bit later as well. Lashro said, saw the video. Amazing tech. Definitely is. Definitely is. The Facebook page quoted the article going on. This moment marks not only a milestone for us as a company, talking about Colossal Biosciences there, but also a leap forward for science, conservation, and humanity. From the beginning, our goal has been clear: to revolutionize history and be the first company to use CRISPR technology to successfully use CRISPR technology successfully in the de-extinction of previously lost species. By achieving this, we continue to push forward our broader mission on accepting humanity's duty to restore Earth to a healthier state. But this isn't just our moment. It's one for science, our planet, and humankind, all of which we love and are passionate about. Now close your eyes, listen to that howl once more. Think about what this means for all of us. Definitely check it out if you guys haven't heard the howls. It's definitely very cool. Very cool. Another big puppy pictures, Remus and Romulus there. Now, the only reason we're talking Remus and Romulus because these were the first two. There was a third one that they pulled out named Khaleesi, born a few months later. All right, there were several on August 7th. On August 8th, there was some more stuff going on. I pulled this Facebook page, Project Nightfall, posted this April 8th at 12:40 a.m. So at 0:40 a.m., the dire wolf is no longer extinct. That's not science fiction. That's 2025. After 10,000 years, a species that once roamed from Canada to Venezuela has returned, not through cloning, but by rewriting DNA from ancient fossil samples and engineering it into modern wolf cells. That kind of gives us an idea of how they did that. 3 pups, Romulus, Remus, and Khaleesi, were born from domestic dog surrogates using edited gray wolf DNA. And there is Khaleesi. Mr. Duffy said the Front Range of Colorado, Denver area. Okay, cool. All right. Just checking the comments, guys, looking for questions. They are the first living animals designed to bring back the traits of a creature we thought we had lost forever. So notice some of the wording here. While Colossal previously engineered a woolly mouse with mammoth-like traits, these pups are the first to fully resemble an extinct predator in form, behavior, and genetic design. This is one of the boldest steps science has ever taken, because this isn't just about the wolves. This is about mammoths, dodos, and Tasmanian tigers. This is about using gene editing, not only to reverse extinction, but to reshape what we considered possible. If you guys remember my Tasmanian tiger video on the thylacine, we had talked about a different company that was looking at the same kind of technology stuff for bringing back the thylacine. So there are a few different companies out there, a couple of bioscience companies that are trying to de-extinct animals. I'm not sure I like that phrasing, de-extinct. Maybe revitalize, bring back the woolly mammoth, the thylacine, the dodo, the great auk, a few other ones. But these guys have rushed to be the first to actually announce that they've done it. Colossal Biosciences believes de-extinction could help us undo the damage humans have done to the biodiversity. They say it's our moral responsibility. They say the same tools can make elephants more resilient to climate change or help red wolves and quolls survive invasive threats. And they might be right. But let's be clear, this is also about power. The power to edit life, to decide which species return and which ones don't. So here they're kind of changing the mood of the article a little bit. Just kind of bringing about some of the cautions here. To engineer creatures for a world that it doesn't remember them. These aren't wild. They were born in a lab, raised in a preserve. They'll live their entire lives under human observation. Protected, but confined. Revered, but not free. So yes, this is massive. It's a scientific leap, a philosophical challenge, and maybe even a moral reckoning. We are now a species that can resurrect the dead, not through fantasy, but by reprogramming nature's code. What we choose to do with that power will define more than the future of science. It might define the future of life itself. Latro, question, is it safe to do this? What about pathogens that don't exist now? What could possibly go wrong? Well, that's where we have to look at the differences between Jurassic Park style cloning of extinct animals and then what they've done here, which is a little different. And we can explain that here as we go on. But that's what this guy is doing here. He's kind of questioning. And that was the whole point of the movies, was just because we can, should we? And if we do, what responsibilities do we have? Now, that's kind of exactly the question here. That's exactly what it is. Mr. Duffy, the institution of science is always used as a control mechanism, regardless of the scientific method, to get the conclusion. I don't trust those double agent scientists. Follow the money, right, buddy? Follow the money. Rebecca put, in my humble opinion, anytime we try to play God, it is dangerous. I agree. 100%. Absolutely 100%. Here is Romulus and Remus, 5 months of age. Absolutely beautiful creatures, regardless of what you think of them. Pure white, absolutely stunning. So here's an interesting Facebook page and website that I found. The Dire Wolf Project, Incorporated. They posted this at April 8th, 4:31 a.m. Now, the Dire Wolf Project has been trying to, through breeding, selective breeding, bring back a dire wolf-like creature as a pet. Now, they clearly state that what they are doing is not recreating a dire wolf. They're not saying they're bringing him back from extinction. What they're doing is breeding the genetic traits into a pet, basically a wolf-type dog. Think husky, think, things like that. Malamutes, Shiba Inus, different things that would be more on the grounds of a dire wolf. And they're really against this genetic manipulation thing. They call, in fact, their article is called Frankenstein's Dire Wolf, a lab-crafted lie. So this is where they're going to get into as to why the dire wolf has not been back from extinction. This is kind of the oppositional view on this. Okay. It says, in the shadows of laboratories lit by fluorescent ambition, a pack of scientists has dared to howl at the moon of genetic resurrection. Very poetic. Absolutely beautiful. They claim to have pulled the dire wolf from the icy grip of extinction as if the beast of ages could be summoned by silicone tools and synthetic threads. But make no mistake, this is not a resurrection. This is a masquerade. Latro, all we need are pets with bigger teeth, right? Bigger and more dangerous. No, thank you. They continue on saying a soulless shadow stitched from the trembling DNA of modern wolves and dressed in cosplay of an ancient king. Colossal bios. Man, I wish I could write that good. That's like my Jennifer writing, just absolutely picturesque. Colossal Biosciences has boasted that it has engineered a creature to mimic the dire wolf using modified gray wolf DNA. Okay, so they're saying it was done a little differently. But not a drop of anoscion. I should have figured out how to pronounce that. Anoscion dirus runs through its veins. Their creature is not a dire wolf. It is a genetically modified modern gray wolf. Now, remember, it's important when we went through the definition in Britannica that a dire wolf is not even really related to the gray wolves at all, right? If you're looking at the evolutionary aspect of it, the gray wolves supposedly evolved in Eurasia and Europe from a completely different lineage than the dire wolf here in North America. Completely different genetics. An artificial chimera programmed to echo fragments of what they think the dire wolf may have been. They brag of mimicking 14 genes out of more than 19,000 in the canine genome, based on fragmented ancient DNA that contains mostly, if not all, mitochondrial information. Mitochondrial means it came from the mother's lineage, not the father's. That's only half the story of a life form that roamed the ice age with bone-crushing jaws and a social structure that rivaled the strength of empires. This is no de-extinction. This is deception. Let me be clear. And again, this is that Dire Wolf Project Facebook page. What they have done is not a scientific triumph. It's a genetic puppet show, a well-founded fantasy. They now brag about further altering 85 more genes in their modern genetically modified gray wolf to approximate dire wolf traits. This is not the same as bringing the dire wolf back. You cannot reconstruct an extinct species from modern blueprints. Ancient predators don't rise from the grave because someone rearranged a few genes in a lab. And let us not forget the dire wolf was not a variant of the gray wolf. It was an entirely different species. A genetically distant, reproductively incompatible, and ecologically unique. Paleontologists have confirmed that the dire wolf shares no genetic overlap with modern dogs or gray wolves. In fact, the dire wolf wasn't a close cousin of the gray wolf at all. It likely evolved independently in North America, tracing its lineage back over 5.7 million years to an ancient Canis ancestor, long before the gray wolf ever set its paws on this continent, which is what is said in the encyclopedia article that we read. No amount of CRISPR tinkering can grow a giant redwood from toothpicks and glue. And let us speak of ethics. And they go into the ethics of everything. And we all know the story of that, so I'm not going to go all the way through it. But basically, it's a dangerous precedent. Apex predators do not belong in petri dishes. This isn't talking about GMO food, stuff like that. Talking about genetically modifying living, breathing carnivores, which, again, we've got, 7, 8 movies now about why that's probably a bad idea. So I went ahead and went to their website. I tracked down Colossal Biosciences, went to their website, found where they talk about the dire wolf. So I pulled some shots from there. So that is where we're going to head to next and find out with them what's going on. This is directly from colossal.com. They have all kinds of stuff. It's a big, flashy web page, all kinds of stuff on it. I found it very interesting, the parallels of those dinosaur movies. How we have the people that are so excited about it, the people that are cautiously acceptance of it, other people that are speaking out directly against it, calling it irresponsible. The advertising and the webpage for this biotech company is all flashy and exciting and supported by the Humane Society and all these different groups with all these accolades. Found it very, very interesting. Definitely a case of life imitating art. And they crow a little bit on themselves. They definitely toot their own horn here. As the world's first and only de-extinction company, Colossal is closer to restoring the past, preserving the present, and safeguarding the future than anyone before. To truly illustrate our success, we must not only redefine de-extinction, but establish standards for the science behind it as well. So my takeaway is we're going to say we're a de-extinction company, but we're going to tell you how we're defining de-extinction. And in fact, we're going to change the definition of it to make it sound like we're better than we are. That's my take on it. Yeah, there's beautiful landing page here, Far From Fiction, with the dire wolf. They got this little blurb on there. I was doing between screenshotting and taking off some of their writing and articles and stuff. They had this quick little paragraph. Making extinction a thing of the past. On October 1st, 2024, for the first time in human history, Colossal successfully restored a once eradicated species through the science of de-extinction. After a 10,000-year absence, our team is proud to return the dire wolf to its rightful place in the ecosystem. Colossal's innovations in science, technology, and conservation made it possible to accomplish something that's never been done before, the revival of a species from its long-standing population of 0. So lots of claims in this one. Proud to return the dire wolf to its rightful place in the ecosystem. They later go on to very specifically say that these animals are not being released into the wild as of yet. They are completely under control within their system, not being returned to an ecosystem. And they're saying the revival of a species, where the claim from other people is that they haven't revived a species. They have simply changed some of the genes in a gray wolf to make it look like what they think a dire wolf look like. That's not a revival of a species. You know, that's not bringing back the genetic code of the Canis dirus. You know, that's just not what that is. But that's their claim here on the website. Maybe that's where they were able to redefine de-extinction. So I found a USA Today article. And the reason I pulled this one up is because it has a lot of quotes and stuff from the researchers, the head researcher, Beth Shapiro, involved in this. They tell us more of exactly what they did. And see if you can see kind of what I picked up as a bait and switch tactic here. You have to let me know what you guys think. To me, it sounds like a little bait and switch going on. This is from USA Today. You can look it up. Researchers have long been intrigued by the dire wolf because it coexists with the gray wolf, which did not go extinct, but there hasn't been enough dire wolf DNA found to analyze. Many dire wolf remains have been found in the La Brea tar pits, for example, but the tar pit damages the DNA, said Beth Shapiro, Colossal's chief science officer. So she's like, was it Mr. Wu? from the dinosaur movies. Shapiro and the researchers of Colossal contacted museums and laboratories with direwolf specimens and got access to a tooth thought to be about 13,000 years old in Ohio and a 72,000-year-old skull from Idaho. Inside the skull was an inner ear bone, which is a good source of well-preserved DNA, Shapiro said. Mr. Duffy, direwolf DNA is probably in the DNA of the gray wolf. You know, I don't know how it goes back, but it says they were not from the same lineage. So if you follow the evolutionary model, eventually, if you go back far enough, they'd have a common ancestor, but not necessarily the same type of DNA. So I'm not really sure how that would work. And they don't specify. From those two specimens, Shapiro and the team at Colossal recovered enough DNA to recreate 2 direwolf genomes to compare with other canid species. So what they're saying is, well, historically, they have not been able to build a genome. There wasn't enough DNA. Given these 2 samples, they were able to build full genomes and then compare it. They compared it with other canid species, including coyotes, jackals, joels, and of course other wolves. Using the genetic data, they could confirm that the gray wolf is the closest living relative of the dire wolf, and they share 99.5% of their DNA code. So they're literally saying, y'all are wrong. The jackal and the Eurasian animals are not the closest relatives, as the scientists said and paleontologists have said, that actually the gray wolf still is, even though they completely evolved on different continents and don't seem to have any relation to each other whatsoever. They're saying that's not true. They share 99.5% of their DNA. So once they discovered that, quote unquote, the next Colossal researchers edited the gray wolf genome in 20 sites over 14 genes to express specific traits of dire wolves, including light-colored coat, hair length, coat patterning, along with body size and musculature. So this is exactly what the opponents were saying, was that they did not use dire wolf DNA to clone anything. They did not insert dire wolf DNA into anything. So what they did is they believe they found that they're closely related to gray wolves. And so they took gray wolf DNA and changed it to produce traits that they believe is expressed in the dire wolf DNA. So not the same thing, guys. This is more of a mimicry as far as I'm concerned. You know, it really seems like a mimicry. That's like taking the Mona Lisa and saying that it was lost in a fire, you know, heaven forbid. And somebody comes along and gets a picture of it and repaints the Mona Lisa and saying they brought it back. They didn't. It's still a copy. It's still not the original. To me, that's kind of what's happening here. This is the part where I see a bait and switch. So we go from the researchers edited the gray wolf genome in 20 sites over 14 genes to express specific traits, right? Hey, Woo Riders, welcome to the show. Thanks for popping in. So we go from genetically altering gray wolf DNA to fertilized dire wolf eggs, right? It's like they're not expecting you to notice. It says fertilized dire wolf eggs were implanted into and born by surrogate dog mothers. 2 litters have led to a pair of male dire wolves, Romulus and Remus, and now 6 months old, a female named Khaleesi. We saw them earlier, born in January. So they weren't even born of wolves. They were born of domestic dogs. So they took gray wolf DNA and genetically modified it, used that gray wolf DNA to fertilize wolf eggs, and implant them into domestic dogs. How they're calling them fertilized dire wolf eggs, I don't get, because they did not take eggs from a dire wolf's reproductive system, right? And it doesn't even say they took them from a gray wolf's reproductive system, although that's what I'm assuming. But to me, that's just a false statement. Fertilized dire wolf eggs, no. To me, that implies they literally were able to recover eggs, ovum, from a dire wolf's reproductive system, and they didn't do that, obviously. So I don't know. They go on to admit that these newcomers are not 100% exactly the same as a dire wolf that roamed the earth ages ago, but look as genetically close as cutting edge technology could get. Colossal plans to breed more dire wolves and study them and how they act in the packs. As of now, there is no plan for the wolves to breed. What does that sound like, guys? Tell me that does not give off vibes from the dinosaur movies. I mean, seriously. They're not exactly the same, but they're as genetically close as we could get. I mean, that's just crazy. Absolutely crazy. And they plan to breed more, but not let them breed together. Why? Because those genetic traits would be lost. Now, I also want to point out they had 3 litters. Out of 3 litters, they were able to pull 3 that expressed the physical attributes, the genetic attributes they were looking for. So that means how many didn't? 18, 20? You know what I mean? And what happened to those puppies? The ones that were not cool enough to be called dire wolves, right? So they didn't bring dire wolves back. If they did, all the puppies would be dire wolves. But no, they had to pick 3. And they're calling them the dire wolves. So the Britannica had a very great closing statement. I told you that they had updated it after this event, and this was their big update. I love this. The biotechnology company Colossal Biosciences announced in 25 that it had brought back the dire wolf by altering parts of the gray wolf genome. That is, the coding regions of DNA, which encode all the genes. The company claimed that technicians making 20 edits to 14 genes in gray wolf embryos. Okay, so there we're talking about the gray wolf eggs, implanting them in dog surrogates, resulted in 3 pups with dire wolf fur color and texture, noting that these limited edits were enough to support their claim that they had resurrected the species. Other geneticists working in academia and elsewhere have remained skeptical. However, they argued that bringing back the species would require thousands of changes to thousands of genes, and the company's announcement was premature. And I had to end the quote because I can say it now. Jurassic Park and Jurassic World social media decided to jump in on this. And this is what I found. The de-extinction revelation generated curiosity, concern, and commentary, including from a Jurassic Park social media account. And this is what it says. We see no possible way this could go wrong, the Jurassic World account wrote on X. Right? Tell me that's not a little tongue-in-cheek. So that's the long and short of it, guys. That's the rabbit hole on it. they announced that they came out and resurrected the dire wolf. In reality, they just took gray wolf DNA and modified it, changed the fur, the hair, the length, and the color and the style, and called the producing mix a dire wolf. And I am severely disappointed because this to me is nothing. It's no different than dog breeders selecting breeding, and we're getting all these other dog breeds from the base of gray wolves or timber wolves or whatever wolves they originally started with. To me, there's no difference in them breeding, mastiffs and cane corsos and German shepherds. The different types of German shepherd type dogs. To me, there's no difference. All you're really doing is selective breeding. The only difference is instead of doing it for generations to breed desirable traits, they were able to go through and do it scientifically within one litter. In my opinion, this is not bringing back the dire wolf from extinction at all. I do not see this as being helpful. The only way to bring back any animal, in my opinion, from de-extinction is going to be with cloning technology. That's the only way. Otherwise, if you're not cloning, then you're not really using the DNA. So you're not really bringing something back. All you're doing is creating something different. It might look like it, but it's not the same thing. So that's my 2 cents. That's where I ended up on my rabbit hole. I want you guys give me any of your thoughts and comments on that particularly. I know Mr. Duffy's having a ball in there telling all kinds of stuff. Not a lot of it actually goes towards this show, so I'm not going to comment on all of it, but a lot of good stuff in there. Acknowledged and unknown, welcome to the show. They're saying our tax dollars at work. I don't know if that was our tax dollars or not. I'm not quick to jump on that bandwagon. It's possible. Very possible. I know there was some big name people invested in it. Tom Brady, I believe it was, invested in it. Martin, the guy that wrote the Game of Thrones, he invested in it. So there's some big celebrity investors in it. And I'm suspecting at some point they will get a donation of one of the products, meaning their own pet dire wolf. That'd be my suspicion. But I didn't see anything about grants or funding, but it's definitely possible. Definitely possible. All right, I'm going to try something new, guys, a little bit. I'm going to plug next week. I know we're done a little early. There wasn't a whole lot more I could have fleshed out of the story. That was that, right? So we got a few minutes left. I'm going to kind of promo for next week, guys. I know I'm excited about next week. What got me started in podcasting in the first place was coming on the Grizzly Show and talking about my investigation into the Cott County killings. A couple of sad attacks that the community was saying was dogman related. And my research that I got into showed that it wasn't. And I got a lot of flack for that from the community. Ended up getting trolls and stalkers and stuff. It was absolutely wild. But my research showed that it was not a dogman attack. There was a local person who bred attack dogs, who bred guard dogs, who was also involved in illicit sales of substances. And these 2 people ran afoul of some of his dogs in some of the misdeeds. So very sad, but to me, there was definitive evidence showing that it was not dogman. This other case is the Corey Godsey case. A young teenage boy out of Kentucky was found mauled in his uncle's backyard. Has a lot of questions to it. Same kind of thing. I was asked to research it a while ago. I've been working on it back and forth. It's been hard because I'm getting stonewalled here. I did get some of the information. I got autopsy reports that we're going to go over next week. Pete's going to come on. Pete is I don't know all of his accolades. I know he's a registered nurse. He worked trauma in an ER for a long time. He's dealt with dog attacks on people. He's managed nursing facilities. The guy knows what he's talking about. He helped me analyze the autopsy reports and the Cott County attacks. I am not a medical professional, so I was bringing in people to help with the terminologies and, you know, different references and things like that. So he's going to come on. He's in the UK. He's going to come on and we're going to go over some stuff. But I wanted to try something tonight. This past summer, 2 summers ago, maybe 3, I don't remember. I'm not good with the chronological stuff going on. My fiance and I went out to the location of where this occurred, and I took some video. So I'm going to try and show a quick video here, see if I can make it work from my own personal stuff going on. So we will see. I got it to work earlier, but I've never tried it live before. So we're just going to do this video here real quick. And we'll see how this works.
The GPS, this is the address, 1855, where Corey Godsey was said to have been found. This is the address of incident in the coroner's report. And it's not what I expected.
I know the audio sync is off a little bit, but let me know if you guys can hear. Is the volume good enough? I'm not sure how to adjust the volume.
All right, so here's the road. Come up this little bridge here, and this is what you see.
Jennifer walking around with me.
There's a structure and all that, but there's no house here. Here's the cliffside.
Rebecca, you're suggesting I do a voiceover with it?
That house right there is 1900. This would be 1855. So we're going to take a walk up there, and we're going to see what we see. So we're going to take a second and kind of get geared up a little bit, get my walking stick so I can make it up there, and we're going to figure out what we got going on.
All right, so that's the whole video. That's all the volume I can push on it. That kind of worked. A little low, but not bad. Okay, I could mute it and just talk over it, but this was, like I said, a couple summers ago, and I don't necessarily remember what all I said. I'm not going to transcript it. I think that'd be a little much. But that's just a little taste of the location of where we were. We went out there and took a look. I more just wanted a visual. You know, you read these reports and it talks about, you know, backyards and up hillsides and up mountainsides, but you really don't know what that looks like until you've been there. So I got a couple more videos of that. Just more informational. So I'm pretty excited. Pete and I have a little bit different ideas of what's going on, how it's happening. But it is going to be fun. I encourage you all to come back. And then next week, I will also have an announcement for everything going forward. But remember, 6 p.m. Eastern next week is what we're going with. Pete's in the UK, so we wanted to be able to make it timing for him. Rebecca, slight increase in volume. Yeah, I may just have to have you guys turn up your systems, put on headphones. I will play with it to see if I can increase the volume on my side. At the time, I did not have a lot of good recording equipment. I do now. I got the microphones that I can clip on, and I can do interviews with different microphones and stuff. I wasn't using that then. I think I was just using a pair of earbuds. So, it's getting better. I promise. I'm working on it. Unacknowledged and unknown, your beard is very Viking-esque. Thank you. Yes, I'm very proud of the beard. I've been growing it for quite some time now. 6 years I've been working on it, trimming it up, kind of getting to go longer back and forth. Rebecca was real close. It would be fine. All right. I got a couple more videos for us next week. Might turn into a 2-parter show. There's a lot of information, and Pete and I can get talking on stuff, so we might not be able to present it all. So it could be a 2-parter. So any other questions or comments, guys, or we're going to wrap it up here. Having to use my cheaters just so I can read the screen better. I've been reading all day and made my eyes kind of tired. Working on putting the presentation together. Any other questions? I'm going to scroll up to see if I can find any that I may have missed. A couple of you guys recognizing each other. Very awesome. Oh, acknowledged unknown. I agree with the direwolf situation, Mr. Grizzly. I am not Mr. Grizzly, my good friend. I am Justin. Mr. Grizzly is our benefactor that puts this all together for us and allows us other podcasters to come on the YouTube channel and do our thing. Lots of respect for Mr. Grizzly, but I am not him. Rebecca, looking forward to next week. Well, I'm looking forward to having you on, Rebecca. Mr. Duffy, thanks for the hard work. It was cool to learn about the wolves. Absolutely, Mr. Duffy. I don't know if you've been on my show. I'm not recognizing the name. Doesn't mean you haven't been here before. Feel free to go back and look. I do all different kinds of stuff, different rabbit holes. Sometimes it's just articles, kind of like tonight, which I'm not a big fan of, but I don't have any original research into that. Other stuff I dig into, it's a lot of my own research, so it's more things that I put together, not just reading articles. But definitely check it out. You know, it's definitely worth it. I got a lot of fun stuff. I check into different cryptid urban legends. I look into the possibility, you know, we did a good one like mer beings. Could they be real? Dog wolves? Could dogmen? Could they be real? Just a lot of different stuff. I bring a lot of different guests on, talk about their research. So feel free to go back, take a look. Any questions, feel free to email me, tnsasquatch21@gmail.com. Find me on Facebook. It's just Justin Decker. Look for the bandana. You'll find me in the beard. I'm always willing to talk. I'm an open book, guys. Let's chat it up. If you have any suggestions for future shows, send them to me. I need to know what you guys want to know. Oh, it's the Cott County incident you're talking about in Tennessee. That's the one that I'm talking about. That's what I did research on. It was a very interesting one. I lived right there. I was very close to it, so I knew the neighborhood, I knew the people and stuff, so it made it a little bit easier to research. Rebecca, I'd like to hear in-depth look into super soldiers being dogman. Well, I don't have to do an in-depth look. I can tell you that right now. If you go back, look at my dogman show, Rebecca, I discuss how the idea of dogman cynocephaly have been around since the beginning of time, beginning of recorded history. The old explorers talked about finding tribes of dog-headed men. They talk about finding islands of dog-headed men. So they're not a new phenomenon. So they aren't going to be just super soldiers. That being said, if you believe in the government, the possibility of government being able to do that kind of genetic manipulation, which I believe is a possibility. Personally, I believe the government, more military technology runs 50 to a couple hundred years ahead of what's released to the public. More so back in the day than now, but it's still more advanced than what's released. If there are genetic super soldiers being used for military purposes, a la the Raptors in the Jurassic World series kind of thing, then they would be newer genetic modifications as opposed to original dogmen. So I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying that would not be the origin. And unfortunately, there's no proof. There's no way to say yes or no. So there's not really an in-depth look we can do to it, right? All we can do is say, hey, we have these various reports. They describe different types of creatures. And some people have built together a theory that this one type of creature, they usually call them the big heads, the soldiers, are genetic modification used by the military. And there's a lot of different anecdotes and stuff like that, but really nothing I can dig into other than just, this is what this person said. So, you know, there's that aspect of it. I mean, it's definitely, to me, a viable theory. And I definitely wouldn't discount the possibility of genetic manipulation for military purposes. But we have no way of proving that. So at this point, nothing we can do with it. Military militarizes everything. Well, yeah, that's what they do. Military militarizes. That's say that 5 times fast. Seriously. That's what they do. That's what tech is for. And then they use the tech, and then once everybody has the tech, they slowly release it out to the public because they're already well beyond that. If you think about it, Unacknowledged and unknown says, yes, the potential for gene manipulation exists for many species, provable but very difficult. Yeah. I mean, really the only way you can prove gene manipulation is to get the DNA of whatever has been manipulated and compare it to the original source and look for the manipulations and document it. I mean, that's literally the only way to prove it. We can speculate, we can have evidence of, we can have anecdotal evidence of, we can have theories and suppositions all day long, but to prove it, that'd be the only way to do it. All right, y'all. Great conversation tonight. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I love all you guys listening and all the conversation. For everybody tuning in later around the world on all of our different platforms, thank you so much for joining us and listening to us later on. We appreciate you guys just as much. Feel free to try and join us live if you can. You can check out our Facebook pages. My personal page has now started launching. On these lives. So my personal page will have the lives. Pancho Zorch, I missed a bunch. Can you start over? It'll load to our YouTube channel here shortly, bud. The live is ending, but it will load, and then you can watch it all from there as much as you want. As Grizzly would say, coast to coast around the world, everybody have a fantastic night. God bless, and we will see you all on the flip side.
It's a grizzly.
Should we get out of here?
No. We're gonna watch and listen.